Well, hey there, Mama, and welcome back to the Moms Overcoming Overwhelm podcast, episode 146. I'm Emily McDermott, and I'm here beside you on this journey as we work together to declutter your home, head, and heart. Sometimes when we are feeling overwhelmed, we have to ask ourselves some hard questions. And one of these questions is from today's guest, Andrea Dekker. I love this question. Am I causing my own chaos? Wow. And when we understand whether this could possibly be true, we have to look at our non-negotiables and make sure that we're saying yes to what aligns with our values rather than what we should be doing or what others expect from us. And that is how we enjoy contentment in our motherhood. So I am talking today with Andrea Dekker. She is a wife and mother of 4 young children who loves nothing more than being home. And she blogs over at andreadekker.com, where she shares her passions for creating a peaceful home, pursuing a simpler and slower lifestyle, and encouraging women at all stages of life to lean into their values and live more intentionally. So in today's episode, we are chatting about the initial transition to motherhood that caused her to feel overwhelmed, how she learned to start saying no and embrace her current season of motherhood. And also we dive a little bit into the transition from summer to fall and what back to school looks like in her home. So I know you are going to love this conversation. So what do you say? Grab that notebook and pen and let's dive into today's conversation with Andrea Dekker. Hey there, Mama. Are you tired of all the stuff crowding your home, calendar, and mind? Do you wish you could say goodbye to the endless to-do lists running around in your head? Want to declutter but don't know where to start? You're in the right place. Welcome to Moms Overcoming Overwhelm, where you will find proven and practical solutions to declutter your home, head, and heart. Hi, I'm Emily, a wife, boy mom, and simplicity seeker. I struggled to get pregnant and felt overwhelmed until I discovered decluttering could create the physical and emotional space I needed to become a mom. Now, 2 kids later, I've transformed my life in motherhood by developing simple systems around decluttering, capsule wardrobes, kid stuff, cleaning and tidying, meal planning, time management, and more, and I can't wait to share them with you. If you're ready to reclaim the time and energy you crave, be present with your kids, and finally enjoy the life and motherhood you so deserve, let's kick overwhelm to the curb, shall we? Grab your lukewarm coffee, your notebook and pen, and clear off some counter space. Let's do this. Well, Andrea, thank you so much for coming on the Moms Overcoming Overwhelm podcast. I am very excited to talk to you today.
Thanks for having me. It was kind of a fun little treat.
Yeah, one of the people in my community recommended you, and my background was in blogging, and then I kind of moved to this audio format, which is still a little strange to me since I'm more of a writer, but I love meeting fellow moms who are trying to live more intentionally and slow down and simplify. And so I would love it if you could introduce yourself, tell us about you and your family, kind of how you support or serve families, and what you like to do in your copious amounts of free time, as I like to say.
Yeah, sure. So I've been married for 18 years and we have 4 kids, 2 boys and 2 girls, and they're all kind of the tween-ish age. We have 7, 9, 10, and 12. So it's kind of my favorite. Well, I don't know what the teenage years are going to be like, but this seems like it could be my favorite season because they're all very independent and self-sufficient, and we have no car seats and strollers or no high chairs, no diapers, nothing like that. They can stay home by themselves for short periods of time, but we don't have to worry about driving or jobs or college applications or boyfriends or anything like that yet. So it's a really, really fun season for us. I have been blogging in some form or fashion since 2007. So I've been around for a while, just at my name, andreadekker.com. So it's pretty easy to find me there. And I blog about creating a simpler, slower lifestyle, living intentionally, simple meals, simple tips to clean and organize your home more efficiently. And so that's kind of my jam for as long as I can remember, just maintaining your home in the most efficient and least amount of effort required to do that, and just coming up with tips to simplify and streamline that part of our lives, because whether you work full-time or part-time or stay at home, most of the time you're still also maintaining a home on top of that. So let's make it simpler.
Yeah. And I always joke that I've never met a mom that's like, I have so much time to do all the things that I want to pursue in my life. Like everyone is like, oh my gosh, like let's make the home management, yeah, as simple as possible. I always say, like, how can I lower the bar today with the expectations of my family? Especially around meals and that sort of thing. So you are definitely speaking my language. And I agree, my kids 6 and 8. So for the 6-year-old, there's still some things, that we're kind of helping with, but I do kind of like that sweet spot, like you said, and I'm kind of experiencing that too. So that's really great. And obviously, with 4 kids that are relatively close in age, I'm guessing there's maybe 1 or 2 times in your motherhood that you felt overwhelmed. Probably numerous, but are there any that come to mind where just like you realize, like, okay, this is not working, whether it be routines or things in the home or, just something within the family, and you're like, okay, I'm, raising that white flag of surrender, something needs to change, and kind of what did you shift and change at that time?
Well, you're right. There's been several times over the last 12 years that I've felt like, oh, this isn't working and we just need to tweak something and get a better system or get a better flow. Even simple things like how to handle dirty laundry or household chores or meal planning or just like getting to and from school, like morning routines, getting on the bus, that kind of stuff. But if you want the honest answer of the most overwhelming for me, it has been when I had my first daughter and went from no kids, full control of my time, working. I was working from home still at the time because I've been blogging since before they were born. And then all of a sudden, this person who the books told me were going to sleep for the vast majority of the day. And my first child did not sleep. Like she didn't sleep at night. She didn't take naps. We found out like 2 years later that she had major sensory issues. And so she has grown out of them now as an almost teenager. But it was so hard. I felt so overwhelmed. I thought, like, if this is one kid, I could never do more than one child. I can't even function in my normal way because this child is like sucking all the life out of me and requiring all my time and attention. And just thinking, like, how could I do this more than once? But then, of course, I did. And we have 4 kids now. But that was just the most overwhelming time for me, was switching from 0 to 1. And I had to realize that this was like a whole new season and it required giving up a lot of things. So I do now volunteer for a lot of things, and I did back then, but for a solid 5 or 6 year chunk of time, we had 4 kids in 5 years. So for those 5, 6 years, I basically did no volunteer work. I did not do anything extra. It was just like taking care of my kids, taking care of our house, and doing my blog work during nap times and when they were sleeping. And basically everything else was just off the table, which was such a new thing for me because I was always the person that was like, yes, I have tons of free time. I have very capable multitasking abilities. Like I can do all of this. I'm super efficient and super productive. And then it was just like, whoa, I need to step back and say no to a lot of things.
Yeah, I always say some of the best money I ever spent in my life is on sleep consultants because I
I
definitely,
actually did that.
oh yeah, it was like life-saving for me, and I have always like that, and it's not inexpensive, but so worth it. So I'm totally with you there. And also, yeah, it is such that shift from like I'm very similar. Like, yes, I'm willing to help, like willing to serve and all of this. And then it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, I need to just kind of put the blinders on and focus. But I feel like in our culture, it's sort of like, oh, we're expected as women and moms to just kind of do more and to, okay, you have, your job and your family, and you're going to volunteer at all the things. And if you're not volunteering like at the school, like every week, like why not? Like
Yeah.
what's wrong with you? And for me, that was like a shift of like the mom guilt thing, being like, no, it's okay for my priorities to be my own health and my family and the management of my home. And if that's we talk a lot on the show about capacity. If that's my capacity in this season, like that is okay. And I just have to kind of put the blinders on to what everyone else is doing and not compare myself. But I feel like that's really hard to do because that's not the message that we're receiving around us. Did you struggle with that a little bit too?
Yeah, I think I talk about a lot that I feel we often bring on our own overwhelm by putting all these shoulds and like, she's doing this, why can't I do this? But she's in a totally different season of life than I am. So maybe she has more capacity to do this. So I just often will tell people, don't cause your own chaos. Don't cause your own overwhelm. Like, look at what you are saying yes to and what you're agreeing to take on. And if it's way more than what you should be, then step back and say no. So, if you look at, okay, I have to take care of my kids, that's a non-negotiable. Like, no one else is going to, well, I don't want anyone else to do that for me. So I'd want to be the one taking care of my kids, and I have to provide for them and like make sure they have food and clean clothes and whatever. I need to keep some semblance of order in our home because we're all happier being here if it's neat and organized and clean, and if we have food ready to go and we're not scrambling and like ordering pizza at 7 p.m. because there's no plan for dinner. So those are two things that I feel are really important. And then for me, I wanted to make sure I had time to do my online work because I enjoyed that and it was like financially beneficial to our family, and I'd much rather do that than work outside of the home. But then outside of that, then I thought, okay, yes, we will do some volunteering at church, but it's going to be age appropriate. So, like, I volunteered in the nursery when I had little kids, and I was like the nursery coordinator. Then, as the kids got older, I volunteered doing the children in worship program and was like participating in it with them. Now, my husband and I are the Sunday school superintendents, and all of our kids are in the Sunday school program. So, it's like we're volunteering for things that really fit with our family's lifestyle right now. And like, my husband will volunteer to be a coach for our boys football team. So it's like he can take them to practice, he can take them to games. It's like a thing that they're doing together. So we're still volunteering, but it's in ways that are really just appropriate for our season of life right now. And we say no to a lot of other things. And so just being okay with that and kind of thinking, am I doing something to cause my own chaos right now by saying yes to too many things or by feeling pressured into too many things? And that's a great way to just kind of evaluate your current season of life, and it could really change the trajectory of your days too if you see like, wow, I'm saying yes to all these things that don't even align with my priorities or my values right now.
Yeah, and definitely like doing that heart check, like, are you doing it out of obligation or are you
Yeah.
doing it because it's something like that you said that aligns? And I find that my default is always like, okay, well, if I don't do it, no one
Yes.
else is going to do it. And then I've really had to train myself to be like, no, that's not the case. And my husband is really good at kind of calling me on that. Kind of like you were saying, like, am I causing my own chaos? Or does this have to be done right now? Does it have to be done by me? Does it have to be done at all? So that's really helpful. I did have a question about kind of the comparison and how that's really prevalent, especially in like mom culture. And I know that you have kind of said goodbye to social media for the most part, which is amazing. Actually, the person that's my podcast coach who teaches all about online business and podcasting, she's completely off social media and she's enjoying the benefits. And I've cut back a lot. And I was just curious, like, besides all the other mental health benefits of that, how has that positively impacted you kind of not comparing yourself to other moms and kind of like what they're doing and feeling like, well, I should be such and such, kind of like you said, the causing your own chaos? How has kind of not being involved in social media as much impacted that for you?
Well, certainly I don't think there's any way it could have harmed me by
Hmm.
not being on social media, from a personal and mental and emotional standpoint. Also, from a time management standpoint, I never used it so much as a personal tool. It was more just a free way to promote my blog and my blog posts and different sponsorship opportunities that I got because they always wanted me to post things on social media. So it was more a business tool, but the amount of time that was required to keep up with it and to post and to schedule things and to then go back and monitor and respond to comments, that was just so time intensive. And then you know how people can be very blunt on the internet, especially when there's like the computer wall between you. And then I would feel like, oh, this person is kind of angry that I posted this, or they have a very different opinion than me. Like, I wonder if I should rethink it. And it's like, no, there's not a right or wrong answer to this. I'm just sharing my opinion. My blog has my name on it. I have a right to share my opinion. It was nothing like scandalous or super controversial. And then I just felt like, oh, all these people are, agreeing with me or disagreeing with me, and it would change how I would feel about things. And the main reason I got off is just because of the time, though. And it's been almost 5 years now, and the time freedom I can't even fathom, because the internet has changed so much in 5 years, and the amount of social media stuff that so many businesses and bloggers do is astronomical, and most of them are hiring it out. And they like have an Instagram person, and they have a TikTok person, and they have a Facebook person, and so they're paying all these people. And I just kind of thought, well, I'm missing out on some income by not being able to promote my posts on these free social media channels, but I'm saving so much time, I'm saving so much stress. And then even when I would go on there for business things, I would see all the other things, and that, oh, this lady's doing this, and oh, look at this house that's like so much nicer than mine, and hers is like well decorated, and wow, that's a really big house. Like, and then you just kind of get these thoughts of, well, what if I had something more like that? Or maybe I should do something more like that, when in reality, I'm very content in my home, and it is not huge, but it's very sufficient for our family, and we lack nothing that we actually need to survive. And so just from a contentment standpoint, it has been extremely beneficial.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, the number one thing I always hear from moms, and I'm sure that you hear this as well from your readers, is like, time, time, time. Like, I don't have the time. I don't have the time. I don't have the
Yeah.
time. And again, going back to your point about like creating our own chaos, if we are constantly scrolling, not only the time suck that ends up being, but then also like feeling less than, not enough, not to mention all the ads. So it's kind of like just more
Yes.
fuel to the fire of feeling like, well, I'm not enough because I don't have X, Y, and Z. Whereas if you just kind of like don't even have that influence, then you're able to be more confident, I would think, like in your values and your choices. And I have found that even if I have unfollowed everyone except for the
Hmm.
people that I know closely, it's still like, oh, they're doing such and such for the summer. I should be taking the kids to do whatever. And it's dangerous, I feel like, for just my personal mental health and feeling content and that what I'm doing as a mom is enough. And so that is like a red flag for me. So I've been really trying to cut down, but that's amazing. 5 years and
Yeah.
you haven't second guessed it. It's like this is just
I've
it, right?
second guessed it. I've second guessed it a few times from a business perspective, but
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, I do not want to go back. And now I'm getting to the age where my kids are almost teenagers. So
Yeah.
it's like I just think I don't really want them to be on social media. And so I feel like if
Hmm.
I'm dinking around on social media half the day, that would be very challenging for me to be like, well, mom can do it, but you can't do it.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably just healthy for our family. And then I can say, I don't even do this because it's a huge waste of time. And
Mm.
I don't want you guys to do this either until you're a little bit older. So,
Yeah, no, that's really, really helpful. And I agree. We're always modeling something to our kids. And so the question always is like, well, what are we modeling?
hmm.
And obviously, if we're like, okay, guys, it's time to get off, time to get off your tablets. And I'm like, my phone, then it's really hard. And they're already very skilled negotiators. So they will definitely notice if I'm on my phone a lot. So that is really
Yeah.
helpful. I want to transition just a little bit. We were talking before recording about kind of like this summer mode that we find ourselves in, and then
Yes.
transitioning to the back to school mode with routines and so forth. And just curious in your family, whether that be meals, especially since you already kind of have like this simple meal thing going on, but also with kind of like routines or planning. How do you like prepare for the shift to the fall? Because my kids start back August 19th, so it's coming
Hmm.
up. I may or may not have a countdown clock going on
Yeah.
for them to go back to school. But what does that look like for you personally and just kind of like in your family as far as that transition goes to fall?
So our family is probably quite unique in the sense that my husband is a teacher and does not have a summer job. So he's home all summer. All four of my kids are in school full time during the year and then home full time in the summer. And I'm also home full time. So our family is home, all six of us and the dog, 100% of the time in the summer. So it is a huge shift from school year to summer. And it always kind of like I prepare myself for them all coming home and like how much dirtier the house is going to be and how much more laundry there is and then it's like we have all the neighbors over here and cousins and it's like people all summer long and I'm very introverted. And so it is like it takes me a couple weeks to like gear up for summer and then I do find myself getting a little bit excited for the fall when it's like, "Oh, I'm going to be able to clean my house and let it be clean for a few hours before everyone comes home again and I'll actually be able to think my own thoughts and not be serving a snack like 7 times a day to all the neighborhood kids." So it is, I love summer and I love everyone being home, but it is definitely a change for our family. So I don't actually do a ton of prep work to prepare for going back in the fall. I kind of just we just like rip the band-aid off and then it happens and we go to school and they're a little bit tired that first week, but then we just naturally get into the routine of earlier bedtimes, earlier waking up, and that works itself out really well. And they're tired for a couple of days and then they get over it. But in terms of cleaning and meal planning, that type of stuff, I've it's just kind of like a bike that I pick up again and I get on it and ride. And so I've done this every year, really relaxed on meal planning in the summer, more relaxed on cleaning in the summer, and then in the school year I just start up my routine again. We also start on August 19 and so everyone's going to be going back, but my routine is Monday mornings. I do like laundry marathon, do all the laundry and while I'm doing I should preface we do have two washers and two dryers. So it's very nice. I do all the laundry in like 3 hours because I'm just like rotating loads. And while I'm doing the laundry, I clean the entire house, bathrooms, floors, dusting, kitchen, mudroom. And then after lunch, I go run all my errands, get groceries, restock. And so then it's kind of like resetting for the week. And I do that very religiously every Monday, unless there's like a huge catastrophe or something. But I will rarely schedule anything for myself on Mondays because I just really like resetting after the weekend and then prepping for the whole week ahead. And then I will be very routine about my meal plans as well, because I think that is probably one of the most important things you can do to have your home life run smoothly because the kids are always hungry. And if you have school and then if you have any sort of evening activity, there's usually like a smaller window for dinner. And so just making sure you have something that it's not like, oh, we need to leave in 15 minutes. Shucks, I was planning on making a roast or something like that. That's going to take 3 hours. So having that all planned ahead of time, I usually do that on Sunday afternoons. I'll kind of go through and look at what our schedule is and like, okay, this night we need a quick meal. This night we'll have a lot more time. So I could do a bigger meal. This day I'm going to be gone all day. So I'll do a crock pot meal, kind of plan out my meals on Sunday and then make my grocery list on Sunday, which then I'll go get all those groceries on Monday.
Yeah, that's really interesting, kind of like front loading the week. I really
Yeah.
like that. And you were mentioning about just really wanting to keep those weekends free so you're not having
Hmm.
to do like the cleaning and the errands and so forth. And I think that always, goes back to like, okay, when we're intentionally planning our schedule, like what are the non-negotiables? What do we really want to have kind of be those boundaries? And so I love that, you're able to kind of front load that. And I just keep thinking about Mondays and I'm like, do I have the energy to do everything that Andrea does on a Monday? I don't know. That's a lot. It's like a full bonanza of everything. But do you ever
You
like
know,
just not have the energy on a Monday and you're like, okay, I'll do some of it, but I gotta do some of it on Tuesday because it's just too much? Or do you just like power through?
so I don't hate doing housework. I kind of enjoy it and I really enjoy the end result of a clean home and just resetting after like a weekend where like people over or like things get all out of place and so I look forward to it. And I'll save most of my podcasts and listen to them on Monday, or I'll listen to an audiobook for like 4 hours straight on a Monday and plow through almost a whole book. So it's very relaxing for me in some ways because it's just kind of me and my book and my podcast, and no one's interrupting me and asking me questions, and I don't need to make food for anyone. I usually just like have a bowl of yogurt or something for lunch. So it's like I'm not making food, I'm just doing my thing in my groove. So I personally look forward to it, but it would not work if I was a homeschool mom, or if I worked outside of the home, or if I had multiple little children. Like 7 years ago, when I had a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a newborn, that would not have worked. I did little pockets of cleaning throughout the day. So for my season right now, it is a very solid routine for me that I thoroughly enjoy, and that very much benefits our family, because then we do have the weekends free. Like, we do not clean on weekends. We don't run errands on weekends. We just relax, and maybe we'll go to like a sporting event or something, or a church event or whatever. But our weekends are very relaxing. And I do not know that many people in my season of life that say that.
Yeah, that is one of the things that I'm trying to keep as sacred as possible, is like having the weekend downtime, because that is not, I'm in the kind of greater Washington, D.C. area, and it's normal for people to be going to like 3 to 4 sporting events over the course of the weekend. And so that is definitely a boundary where I want it to be like family time, like intentional time together, and, you know, hopefully not doing all my cleaning then also. But yeah, that's really helpful, and a great reminder that we're living within the season that we're in, and just kind of making that work for us. So that is incredibly helpful. And I just love learning from other moms that are kind of in different seasons, kind of focusing on different things. And I know your blog is like, your website, I should say, is a treasure trove of information. And I would love it if you could just tell us the best way to connect with you, if there's any like resources on the website that you want to direct people to, just whatever you want to share, feel free.
Well, it's very easy to find me on the internet. I'm just AndreaDekker.com, and that is Dekker with 2 Ks. But you don't need to search for me on social media, because I won't be posting there. I do have a very easy to sign up for email newsletter that goes out on Wednesday mornings, and it has one simple recipe, a simple organizational or cleaning tip, and then one article that I've written from the past or current about intentional living. So kind of my thing is simple food, organized home, intentional living. So I focus on those 3 aspects. And then usually a little update of our family life, or some other resources from the web, or fun products that I like will kind of be at the end of that newsletter. But that's it. You can get on my email newsletter list, or you can just browse the more than 3,000 blog posts on my website, all for free.
Wonderful. Well, I will go ahead and link that in the show notes. So thank you so much, Andrea. It was so nice chatting with you and learning more about kind of your journey and what has been working well for you and your family. So thank you again so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
If you like today's podcast, here's what you can do. Just take 30 seconds to leave me a review. I know you're a busy mama. You're overwhelmed, in fact. But 30 seconds of your day makes such an impact. I'll be blessed by your words. They'll definitely make my day. And who knows, you might be entered for this month's giveaway. In Apple Podcasts, scroll down to write a review. Thanks so much for your time. I'm so grateful for you.